Hey y'all, happy Sunday. I am grateful to be here. And you may have noticed that there's a slight change to the title of today's meditation. I've decided to do two parts to Breaking Cycles. And I'll tell you a little bit more why later. So, how are you? Where are you? Put in the comments where you are watching. Now, you can't do that during the replay, but if you are watching live, I would appreciate knowing where you are so I can send my love in that direction as you are sending love in this direction. I need to make sure that you can hear me, you can see me, that all things are as they are supposed to be. Let me just also say that since the full moon, my fur grandbaby has not been himself. So if you hear some noise in the background, it's more than likely him either running or scratching or doing all manner of things. I don't know about y'all fur babies, but my fur babies have not been the same since that Gemini full moon. And I don't know if it's the hustle and bustle of the holiday season. I don't know what it is, but he has gotten yelled at so many times today. So I'm asking for forgiveness in advance if you hear some disruption in the back. It's only him. Um, so today we're going to be talking about breaking cycles. We're going to do things a little bit different. I know I say that every week. Oh, we're going to do this different. We're going to do this different. My intention is to and the reason we're doing this in two parts is because I don't want anyone to think that any ritual, any meditation, any prayer is going to stop a cycle immediately. Cycles happen for a reason, cycles get created for a reason, and it takes a process. And so, the reason I decided at the last minute to do this in two parts is I really want us to focus on why we feel that we might be in a cycle. We can talk about how to get out of it later. But first, we need to identify when we feel as though we are in a cycle. And so if you have questions, if you have comments, if you want to share, the more that you share, the more we all get to learn about ourselves and one another. And so people don't feel like it's just them. So people won't feel like they're all alone. But I have some information that I'm going to share about myself. Remember, whatever you share may be viewed by people who are watching live or in the replay. So just be mindful that what you share is yours to share. Don't come on here talking about your girlfriend's business, your mama's business, and everybody else. We are talking about us. And I have also had to alter what I share because it does involve other people. But I'm making sure to protect everybody else's desire and need for privacy in their lives. So, with all of those things said, let's talk about breaking cycles. Well, first, you have to identify what a cycle is. Before you say, oh, this feels like a cycle of this or this feels like a cycle of that, first let's identify. So, what is a cycle? It's repetitive, systemic, something that you are aware that is happening over and over and over and over, and it's impacting your growth. Because there are things that need to happen over and over and over and over so that you can learn, right? We learn by repetition. And so some cycles are designed to help us grow, and some cycles inhibit our growth. You need to be clear about the cycle that you're in and what your experience in that cycle. You may be in a cycle with someone else and it's helping them grow, but it's inhibiting your growth. Yikes. And so we know that cycles are repetitive. We know that they all have different points in that circle, in that pattern. There are different points, there's a process. When you get to a point, this is how you actually feel dizzy, because you find yourself right back at the beginning where you started. And so you could have a experience of having a pattern with money. You could have the experience of having a pattern with other people, whether it's your family, your friends, the people you work with, romantic relationships. We can see cycles. Again, some of them are necessary for your growth. I think all things that we experience help us grow if we're willing to see it that way. However, the breaking cycles that we're talking about are those things where you absolutely know that it is impacting the way that you see yourself, the way you see the world, the love that you give and receive yourself. This is you telling the truth, which is why we have to do this in two parts, because we got to have the truth before us before we can get to the other stuff. We got to get to the root. If there's something you want to break and something that you want to stop, something that you want to stop from growing and continuing, you have to pull it up from the root. If you just keep clipping off the top, it's just going to keep growing, because things don't grow from the top, they grow from the root. And so that's what we're going to do. The only way we can get to the root is by telling the truth. And so I have a visual aid for us. Um, and in full transparency, I'm going to be talking about one of my cycles, because I know that I am in very, very, very many cycles, whether it's financially, physically, my health, mentally, emotionally. I know that there are cycles in my life. I know that some of them are absolutely for my growth, and I'm creating more patience with myself as I see myself going through these cycles, learning different things at different parts in the process. And I know that there are absolutely some cycles, some cords, some things that I need to break. I can no longer do them because it's impacting where I say I want to be. And so I pulled out all my, not all of them, but I pulled out some journals the other day. And this is my relationship journal. Now, it's not complete, I still got some writing to do, but oh my goodness. And this is just one of many. So when I recognized that I was in a cycle with a particular person romantically, and getting frustrated and more frustrated, I had to say, Yolanda, you got to see this for what it is and not what you keep telling yourself, because When we're in a cycle, we're telling ourselves particular things, which is why we remain in it. We might even get out of it and then jump right back in it because we want to romanticize what happened. We want to justify. We want to feel good. All of the things that we do that also contribute to the cycle continuing. And a lot of that is not based in truth and fact. It's based on the story that we want to tell ourselves. And so, took my relationship journal, and I literally had to, let me cover that up. I literally had to write out what I was experiencing with this other person. And then I was able to actually, I don't know if you can see it, I was actually able to come up with a whole cycle. Like I wrote the cycle out because I needed to see, why do you keep getting into this thing? Why are you in it? What is the pull? What is it when as soon as you come out of it, you feel worse than when you got back in it, and then you return right back to the same cycle with the same individual. No behavior has changed, or if it did change, it changed for a little while, but then y'all go right back to the same routine, the same pattern. And that's what a cycle is. Even as it's changing while you're in it, it might get, why it can change. The result winds up being the same, and it becomes a history. It becomes a pattern. And so let's see if this works. It did. So now you got little me and you got big me. So from this journal came this diagram where I literally had to write out what the cycle looked like. And we're going to go through this and then we're going to meditate. Remember, this is a two-parter. Next week, we'll talk about how we break away from the cycle, but first we got to identify. And I'm not saying that you have to do this. I'm not saying that you will do it exactly like this, but you got to tell the truth. We have to tell the truth in regards to the things that we find ourselves in. Let's see if I can do it like this. Yeah, y'all don't need to see me just yet. So let's start in the orange part, right? Anytime we have a desire or a need or a want, I'm calling it desire. If you're hungry, the desire is to eat. If you're thirsty, the desire is to drink something. If you're sad, the desire may be to not be sad. Whenever we have an awareness that we want something, that there is a need, there is a want, there is a desire, that's what we're starting. And so for me, in this particular cycle, in this romantic cycle that I was in, it started with, I'm uncomfortable. I want to be in a relationship, or I want to be in love, or, that's the desire. For me, because I know who I am, the avoidance behavior starts. And I start to tell myself, I don't need anybody. I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't have time for, when it's not true. Even when it's not true, I will avoid that feeling. Even when my natural emotions take over and say, Yolanda, you want to be in love. You want love. My brain will say, that's not what we want. It doesn't make the desire, the want, or the need go away. It just makes me feel differently about it. And so anytime we try to avoid something and yet we still focus on it, it makes it stronger. And so the pull for me gets stronger. When I say I don't want to be in a relationship, that's when the pull and the desire gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And then my little brain starts to think, well, how can I be in relationship without falling in love? And so I find myself in these cycles where the desire is there, and very similar to whether it's hunger or thirst, those are not things that we consciously think of. They happen in our body. We could be moving about our day. Next thing you know, I'm hungry. We could be moving about our day. Next thing, I'm thirsty, I'm tired, I'm sleepy. Those are those things that happen within our experience, whether we are consciously aware of it or not. And love is the same thing because it is a desire, it is a want, it is a need of the human experience. And we can tell ourselves, I don't need that, I don't want that, or I don't want it in that way. that just makes the pull even stronger because we're denying ourselves the very thing that we want. So this is me in my cycle. And so then I might meet somebody, and then the need gets met. And I tell myself, okay, you've met the need. You've met the need. Maybe it'll be temporary. Maybe it's not going to be based in truth and fact, in love, but at least my physical need and my emotional need gets met. That's what my brain is telling me. This thing that I say that I didn't want to begin with, that I didn't even want to engage in, I now have. And once I get it, once I start to have that mental awareness that, wait a minute, this is not what I wanted, I start to run. And so now we've had the desire, the emotional pull has gotten stronger. I'm avoiding it, but I succumb to it. So I'm telling myself, oh, well, the need has been met. And it starts to feel good. It starts to feel good. And we can use anything. We could use food. I'm hungry. I don't really want to eat, but I know I have to eat. And then once I start eating and I start feeling better, my need has been met. I might eat more and more and more and more. And then you have that mental awareness, that self awareness that says, I've eaten too much, or I'm eating something that's not good for me. And so for me, in my romantic cycle, it becomes, this ain't what I wanted. This feels like a relationship. Oh gosh, that's not what I wanted. And I'm in relationship with someone who's not good for me. It's toxic. It's ridiculous. Why am I doing this? Now that I have this mental awareness, this self-awareness, I have no desire. And so I'm out. I don't care how many hearts I got to break. I don't care how many toes I got to step on. I don't care what the consequences of my choices are. I'm out. Sometimes I'm not even telling people I'm leaving. I'm just gone. And that turns into that avoidance behavior. I'm not picking up the phone. I'm not You can be the nicest person on earth. I don't want to be bothered because I already told myself this is not what I wanted and it's starting to feel like what I said I didn't want, and so I'm out. But guess what? That desire never left. That orange space never left me. And so what happens? I get right back in that cycle because the desire and the need never left. I just went about it in ways that wasn't healthy. And so this is why this needs to be in two parts, this breaking cycles, because we all have to identify what the pattern is. Be very clear about what it is that your body needs, your mind needs, your spirit needs, and that desire does not go away just because you try to trick yourself into believing you don't need it. Just because you try to tell yourself it's not important or I've got better things to do. And so you have to get clear of why you're in the cycle to begin with. It is feeding something because our why is the motivator. The only way that we're going to change it is number one, telling the truth that perhaps the emotional need, being wanted, being accepted, being held and cared for, there's nothing wrong with that. The behavior in which I'm engaging in to get it is the thing that keeps me in the cycle that I can't grow. And so if I've done this exercise on myself. If I go back to the desire all along was something that I need to live, which is love. And if I take a better look at that second uh, pie piece, the avoidance behavior, the emotional pull is stronger. Between the desire and the truth that I'm telling about my emotional need, that's where the problem. That's where I get tripped up. And I could take this and put money in there. I could say the desire is for me to have more money. And then I could tell myself, well, money is the root of all evil. Now you're focused on money, and that's a horrible thing to do. It doesn't negate the fact that I still need money and I still want money. I just think my perspective is off. It doesn't mean that the need and the desire goes away. And so for me, what happens with money is by the time I get to that third pie piece, of the need being met, it means either someone has given me something or I have earned something. And then I tell myself, well, that's enough. That's enough. That's all I need. And then I find myself in this cycle of feast or famine because I keep telling myself, well, money is the root of evil. So if I'm pursuing money and I'm only focused on money, but I still need it, there's an imbalance. And so then I get into this cycle of me not growing. And not growing means not having a different perspective, not elevating your consciousness. And so, what we are going to do as we meditate today is we're going to be truthful about the desire. So, if there is a cycle that you find yourself in, it could be money, it could be relationships, it could be a pattern of dysfunction with a family member where you trust someone that, for all intentions, should never be trusted, but you're just going to give them one more chance. And you get into this relationship where it looks like their behavior has changed and oh, everything is great. But then you start having a mental awareness. You start being self aware of how you have changed to meet their need. And you're really not satisfied because you know that the behavior is going to come. You know that the switch up, change up that you've experienced in the past is going to happen again. And then you're let down and you get right back in the cycle. We have to tell the truth when we are talking about breaking cycles that the need doesn't change. And you may find yourself in cycles with your family because your need to have a family that loves you doesn't change. No matter what those jokers did, no matter how often they do it, no matter how often you tell yourself, I'm just going to live my life by myself. I'm not going to be bothered. I'm not going to answer the phone. The need, the desire does not die. And then we have to engage in all of this behavior, which denies us the basic needs that we all need to be loved, to be supported, to be appreciated. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we tell ourselves, I don't need that. Yeah, you do. You need love. Every single one of us does. Romantically, friendship love, love in what you do on the day-to-day basis, whether it's your career or where you place a lot of your time. And yeah, we need money too. But we've been told, money is the root of all evil, and the pursuit of money and how you go about it is, makes you a horrible person. We tell ourselves that rich people are evil because they got a lot and we may not have as much as them, but we all need it. And then we start to get into these cycles of scarcity and lack because we're not telling the truth. And so that is what we are meditating over today. And at some point, I'm going to post that graphic in places because it might be helpful to you. It certainly is helpful to me. Now, does that mean that I have broken the cycle of challenges in romantic relationships? No. But I'm more aware of it. I'm more mindful of my participation in the cycle. And notice that that didn't have anything to do with another person. Now, what was in my journal did, but I can't focus on other people's behavior because I can't control it. Remember last week when we talked about the things that we can control: our thoughts, our feelings, our behavior. So when it comes to breaking cycles, if you think that breaking the cycle means that other people are going to change, it doesn't. Not necessarily. We're talking about us and what you are experiencing. And so, if you are interested in breaking particular cycles in your life, then number one thing you should start is declaring that that's what you want to do. And you may need to pray yourself into it by saying, give me the strength to tell the truth about what it is that I am doing that keeps me in these cycles that I am attempting to break. This is not about other people. This is about you, your thoughts, your feelings, your behavior. So if you think I'm going to cut this cord, I'm going to break this cycle, and then the other people will act the way that I need them to act. I'm That's not what we that this ain't that. This is not that. You breaking a cycle could actually push you further away from people. Breaking a cycle doesn't mean that, oh, now they're going to see me differently and now they'll fall in love with me. Doesn't mean that. Breaking the cycle doesn't mean now they see me differently and now they're going to respect me. Doesn't mean that. Breaking the cycle doesn't mean, oh, now they will take me seriously and our relationship will be better. Doesn't mean that. I don't do that. I am a spiritual life coach. I am a Reiki master teacher, third degree Reiki practitioner. And if anyone else is saying that they can break something for you and get people to fall in love with you, call them. Don't call me. And that's not what I do. I am talking about breaking cycles for you so that you are no longer participating in it and you actually get your needs met for you. For you. So, that graphic that I showed, what's the desire? That doesn't leave you. And maybe your desire is I want to be loved, I want to be respected, I want people to take me seriously. You can't worry about what people are doing. You can only worry about how you are showing up in the world. Similar to if you're hungry, you have to feed yourself. If you're thirsty, you have to get the water so that you're no longer thirsty. If you feel like you are in a cycle, in a systemic way of being, your behavior, your thoughts, your feeling, if you think that there is a pattern in your life that is impacting your growth and you want to come out of it, you need to focus on you and not everybody else's participation in the story. You have to tell the truth about the story. And you have to know why you are motivated, why that thing is in you. That's the root, because the why is going to be your motivation. So if your motivation is I want to be loved, and your motivation is I don't really care how it comes, then you're going to be open to however it comes and tell yourself, well, this is love. We love to romanticize things when we need something. You know, if you are in the desert and you are thirsty, you will drink just about anything and say it's the best, this is the best thing I've ever had in my life. When you desperately want something, when you desperately want something, no matter how it comes to you, you could romanticize it in your mind and say, "Yep, this is what you settle. You can settle." So, we don't want to settle anywhere in our life. We don't want to be, constantly in cycles where we're chasing things, trying to make it look like what we want it to look like. We don't want that. So, part one, we're focusing on our why. And that is you telling the truth. So, wherever you are, as we always do, make sure you are comfortable. Make sure you have what you need. If you need something to drink, then get something to drink. If you need to loosen up your belt, loosen up your belt. Make sure that your comfort does not impact anyone else around you. If you need to remove yourself, if you're listening to this on the replay, listen to it when you have time to make yourself and anyone else who might be joining you comfortable. Because when you talk about breaking a cycle, and I just said that this during my morning meditation, that when you make a decision to do something for yourself, it might have the potential to upset other people and to create a separation. When you choose you, that may also mean not choosing other people if they contribute to you placing yourself in a cycle. And you need to be prepared for that, which is why this is two parts. And so the first part, we just want to tell the truth about what it is that we need, what we are calling for, what we know we need, but we might not know the most appropriate way to go about it. Don't worry about that just yet. Tell the truth about what it is that you need. And so each of you may have a particular cycle in your mind: financial, relationship, health. If you feel like the healthiest person on the block at the beginning of the month, but by the time you get to the end of the month, it's not the same, and you know that this is a pattern, that this is something that keeps happening, that you don't have control over. Sometimes we don't have control over particular things. We're talking about the things that we have control over: our thoughts, our feelings, and our behavior. So if you know, you tell yourself, I'm going to eat well. For 30 days, I'm going to eat well. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do what I need to do. And you do that and you start feeling better. And then there's some slippage and you start going back to the same old patterns and behaviors that got you to where you're at. And now you're not healthy anymore, or you're feeling the effects of that. That is absolutely something that you have control over. For some of us, there are diseases and disorders within our body that we don't have control over. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those things where you have identified, I got to stop this. Now, for those of you who may be in active addiction, whether it is alcohol, drugs, sex, food, there are so many different addictions that we all might have playing out in our lives. Get support for that. If you are in active addiction and you think, I'm going to eradicate this addiction from my life by myself, I would offer you get some professional assistance. It's challenging, and that can be a cycle. How many of us know someone, or maybe ourselves, where we just get into this cycle of, I'm doing well for 3 months and then something happens, something triggers me, and I go right back to my old behaviors? You might need professional help. And if you've gotten to the place where you have identified that, then kudos to you, because that can be a challenge to come to that place where you say, I can't do this by myself. I need someone to support me. And so as we are getting ready for um, the declaration of our truth, start to think about the things that you really identify as a pattern in your life that have an emotional component to them. There's an emotional need. There's something driving you to participate in this cycle. And you're not going to be able to break it if you can't identify what the emotional need is. It could be love, it could be acceptance, it could be recognition, it could be care. And none of those things are horrible things to want. Wanting to be cared for is not too much to ask. You might be asking the wrong people, or it may not be present in the environments that you're in. But let me tell you, identifying that there is a desire, a want, and a need is no different than you saying right now, you know what? I just realized I haven't eaten and I'm hungry. You feed yourself. If you recognize that you haven't been loved well, feed yourself. You need to be loved well. We all do. I don't know who and when that started, where people feel like, I can do life by myself. I don't need anybody. I'm independent. We need love to survive. And so, if that is the need, if that is the desire, if that's the want, and you recognize that that desire can sometimes lead you to making choices that you otherwise would not have made, tell the truth about it. Get to the bottom of it. Why do I keep dating the same person in a different body over and over? Because you want to be loved. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with you being in these cycles. It's, I got to be aware of the pattern and the behaviors that I may engage in. I have to be more aware of what is motivating me. And you cannot change something if you are not aware at what your motivation, because we don't do anything unless it gives us something. It's just sometimes the way we engage and the way we go about it might be challenging. So let's take some deep breaths. We have checked our environment. Mhm. And I want to say, I did not record it this morning, but my goodness, the meditation that I did with my morning group about forgiveness, it may seep into this meditation because what I discovered, and I don't, I'm sure others discovered as we were meditating together, is that we each have to take responsibility for the definitions of particular things in our life, how we define things. And just as I talked a minute ago about romanticizing things, tell the truth if you are one of those type of people that loves to give other people the benefit of the doubt, even though there's nothing but doubt, and you want to dismiss it and be like, yeah, well, now it's time to tell the truth. So let's take deep breaths, come into this right now moment where we have declared that we are creating the necessary strength to remove ourselves from patterns of behavior that we are calling cycles that impact our ability to grow, to love, to expand, to give and receive love equally. And as you inhale and exhale, know that that declaration of you wanting to remove yourself from a particular cycle in your life is a very loving act. What you are signifying is not that I want to lose something, not that I want to leave someone, not that I want to leave anything. I want to increase my capacity to love. And ultimately, that is what breaking cycles is about, increasing our capacity to love ourselves and love others without the weight of the pattern getting in the way. Let us all breathe into the knowledge that there are some cycles in our lives that are there to teach us a lesson that we would not have learned in any other way. And that we open ourselves to acquiring the wisdom and the intelligence that is necessary from that lesson and when that lesson is no longer necessary. I needed to hear that one. That I recognize that the cycles that I am currently in my romantic life are necessary for me to learn what I need to learn, so until the moment where they are no longer necessary, because I have all of the wisdom that I need to acquire. But I have to tell the truth. And so as we are breathing deeply, my truth is my truth, your truth is your truth, but the ultimate truth doesn't have a story attached to it. There is no villain, there is no victim, there is no hero. There is just the truth. And the truth is, I require, I desire specific things in my life. And so imagine that you are standing before a blackboard, a whiteboard, or some mechanism where you can outline the things that are necessary in your life for you to grow and be the best version of yourself, the highest version of yourself that you can be. Whether you are consciously aware of those things or not, you are being presented with an opportunity to list and to write down all of the things that are necessary for your journey. And so, your board that is before you, you have the pen, I've got my own. We all individually each have the ability to write everything that we believe that we need for our life experience. And you might write love, security, responsibility, respect. Hmm. Financial abundance, that's a desire. Capability, if that is a desire. A functional mind, that is a desire. Hmm. Peace, freedom, grace. You write whatever it is that you need to write and tell the truth. Don't feel any kind of way about it. Know that you are deserving of whatever you write on that board. This is us standing before whatever mechanism that feels good to you. Pen, pencil, feather, whatever is necessary in your hand, be it left or right. You have your dominant hand writing out all of the things that you need for your journey. Take a deep breath and write in your mind's eye, what is it that you need, that you desire, that you want, that's not harming you or harming anyone else? So please don't be writing, I want so and so to get, done dirty. That's not what we're talking about. We want the highest level functioning items on our list that is before us. What do I need? I need love. I need acceptance. I need patience. I need guidance. Lord knows I need guidance. Thank you for, and shout out to my prayer partner. I need guidance. I need warmth. I need accountability. I need all of these things. And I recognize that I have been in cycles that make receiving these needs and desires difficult. I need love, and yet I'm spending time with people who don't love me. I had to sit back for that. I need money, and yet I'm afraid to do the things that would allow money to flow into my life effortlessly. I need peace, and yet I'm choosing to be in toxic environments that test me on the daily. I need acceptance, and yet I'm unable to get to a level of vulnerability and intimacy that would let people see the real me. And I recognize that all of these behaviors are cycles, that sometimes I let people in, sometimes I exit and let them out. I recognize that I get into a cycle of sometimes I show people who I am, and other times I'm hiding. And as I'm telling the truth, I recognize that sometimes I don't believe that I deserve the things that I have written on my board. Sometimes I don't think I deserve love. Sometimes I don't think I deserve financial abundance because I'm not good with money. Sometimes I don't believe that I deserve attention because I don't like the way I look and I don't trust people. Sometimes, even though I wrote it on my board and I say I want peace, sometimes I'm afraid of peace because it requires me to be peaceful. Take a deep breath so that you can allow the truth of what is settle in your spirit, because you will not be able to break out of a cycle without telling the truth. And maybe for you, you have to say, I desire. Write it on your board, that board that you are standing in front of with the pen, pencil, feather, or whatever instrument, knowing that whatever you are writing, you are writing it on your heart. It's been there this whole time. And maybe you haven't connected to it. So, in this right now moment, maybe you need to ask your heart, what is it that you need for our life's journey? If you know that you need freedom and yet you feel obligated in your relationships and it feels like your hands are tied and your ankles are held together with a weight, you have to tell the truth. I feel free. I feel that I want freedom, but I'm with someone that makes me feel stuck. I want to be able to do what it is that I want to do, but I'm obligated because I got to take care of so many other people. I really want to live life on my terms, but I'm responsible for the livelihood of other people. It's okay to tell the truth. It's your truth, and you have to tell it so that you can get out of any cycle. You have to tell the truth. I am the emotional barometer for everyone in my house, and it's weighing me down and keeps me disconnected. And because some of these thoughts are not my thoughts and they are just coming forth, someone somewhere is not telling the truth about their life and what they need. It is okay for you to tell the truth to yourself. And if you have to get a journal and write it down, but you're afraid to write it down because what if somebody found it? And then they would know how I really feel. Yes, what would happen if we started to tell the truth and people knew how we really felt? Hmm. We might be able to get out of a cycle. That's a thought. What would happen if we started saying how we really feel? And this is not personal. But what if you are tired of your adult children, but you feel obligated to guide them along their life's journey? And so somehow you forgot about your own life? I know that that is a very noble concept. And I'm not telling anybody to abandon their children or abandon their family. What I'm saying is, if you know that you are in a cycle of suffering and you want to get out of it, you got to tell the truth of why you're in the cycle to begin with. And so let's take a breath because it may be challenging to get to the truth, which is why we've turned this into two parts. First, we have to get to the truth before we break the cycle. Perhaps you have inherited a pattern of behavior from your family of origin. This ain't even your cycle. You just in it. You caught up in it like a sneaker in a dryer, just bloom, 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 blooming along. Sometimes patterns of behavior gets transferred to generation after generation, and we don't even know why we're doing it. We don't even know how it started. It's here. Maybe you are paying for debts financially that you didn't even incur. I don't know where that came from, but somebody understands what I'm talking about. Maybe you are paying for things that you didn't purchase, that someone else told you or made you feel obligated that you need. And so now you're in this cycle with someone of, I'm buying your affection, I'm buying your approval, I'm buying, and it's putting me in a cycle of financial strain. But I'm in it and I don't know how to get out of it because I feel obligated, because I'm telling myself that this is what you do for people when you're in love. But I don't know where we got the definition that love equals suffering. And so think about the emotional cycles, the mental cycle, the physical cycle, and the spiritual cycles that you may find yourself in that you know are impacting your growth. What are you learning while you're in there? How not to take care of yourself, how not to consider yourself, how not to forgive, how not to have compassion and kindness for yourself. Tell the truth about what the cycle is doing to you. It doesn't negate the need. I'm going to show the graphic one more time. If your eyes are closed, and you might want to look, we're on that orange piece, the desire. Tell the truth about what you believe is missing, because that's what desire is. You have things, and then there are things that you don't have. And somewhere in between those two, your awareness says, I want, I need, I desire. Tell the truth about what it is, because that may not be where the misguided choices are. It may, but it may not be. And for someone, again, who is active in addiction, this may look different. This may feel and sound different. The desire to numb the pain could also, when you get to the root of it, mean I never knew what love was, or I don't have a great concept of myself and it hurts. And so that's what I do. And that's the desire. The desire is to numb. If you can't move beyond the I desire to numb, then that's where you may need to get professional help. This graphic can only work when you tell the truth about what the desire is. So if you can only get to, I desire to get high, I desire to numb, I desire to disconnect, this is not for you. This is for those of us who have gotten to the place where they can say, I desire love, but I may not go about it in the right way. I desire connection, but I might be misguided in my attempts. I desire safety, and I'm willing to do whatever I got to do to get it. This is for anyone who has gotten to that level of truth that says, I'm telling the truth so I can save myself. So take a deep breath. Continue to tell yourself the truth. Again, if you need to write it down, last week I talked about a journal. This week I'm going to talk about a journal. Probably going to talk about journaling every single time, because this may be how you discover what your cycle is. And before we can get to how we break it, we have to identify what it is. We have to get to the root. We have to see it, smell it, hear it, taste it, touch it, and be able to see it whenever it shows up. Because the one thing about your desires, your wants, and your needs, they show up. That graphic talked about there's an emotional need. That's the awareness. Hey, there's something that I need. I need to know what it is so that I can appropriately choose how to create it. Because if I'm not clear, or if I start lying to myself, oh, you need to eat. No, I don't. And then you out here about to fall out because you haven't fed yourself. Oh, I need to drink something. No, you don't. And then you're out here about to go to the hospital because you're dehydrated. Oh, I need love. No, I don't. And now you're about to become a bitter Betty because you haven't had any love in your life. Tell the truth about what it is you desire. I desire connection. Okay, that's a great awareness to have. Have you always gone about connecting with people in appropriate ways? No, I haven't. All I know is I needed something and I was willing to do whatever I needed to do to get it. I wasn't consciously aware. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't using my discernment. I wasn't using my gifts. I know I had some need and I needed it to be met. I need to be emotionally fulfilled. Let me run to Macy's real quick and buy up the store. And then later I'll cry about all the money I spent. But it feels good. We want that immediate rush. We want that immediate gratification when there is a desire and a need. Because in some ways we have been taught that if you don't get it immediately, then there's something wrong. Then you leave that space open. You leave it open. But when you are clear about coming out of a pattern, you will develop patience. You will develop grace. You will develop the things that you need to make sure that your needs are met appropriately. And so you might say, well, I'm hungry. Let me stop in the drive through and get the worst food imaginable, which is fast food. Let me get the worst food imaginable just so that I'm no longer hungry. When you have decided to do things different, you will say, I'm hungry. Or before you even get hungry, let me meal plan so that when I am hungry, I'm doing the best thing for my body. That's how you come out of a pattern. You start orchestrating things differently. If you know that you have a habit of getting dehydrated, let me have access to as much water or whatever beverage that is the best for me available so that I'm never thirsty. And if the need or desire is love, let me create safe spaces in my life so I'm not looking for love from places where it cannot be found and romanticizing and telling myself it's love when it's not and putting up with all kind of nonsense. That's how you come out of a pattern. We're going to talk about that next week. We still are staying within the truth. Tell the truth. Do you feel like you are in a pattern out of obligation? How do you come out of that? By saying what you feel. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it anymore. I see where it is impacting my ability to grow. I'm choosing to do things differently. I never said anything about it being easy. I'm saying it is necessary so that you can love you in the way that you deserve to be loved. Because a pattern, a cycle that inhibits your growth, it steals you and robs you of so many things. It steals you of the ability to have joy in your life and to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm proud of myself. And so that cycle then becomes self abuse, self betrayal. If you know that you are doing something that is hurting your heart, you have to ask yourself, why do I continue to do this thing to me that is damaging to me? And everybody else gets what they want. Child, please, as I say, don't cry for me when I'm gone. Respect me while I'm here. I don't want to hear, what good does it do me for you to be crying that after y'all done dragged me and used me up and asked me to do things that I didn't want to do, and now everybody's sorry I'm gone? How's that going to save me? We have to save ourselves now and identify the situations, the environments, the experiences that we may be in that are robbing us of a life full of joy and happiness and integrity. And so that cycle that I wrote in my journal, again, I had to tell myself the truth. Girl, you are being an absolute fool. You're asking for something in a place where it's not going to be found. And you keep romanticizing it in your head, thinking that if I do this, then they'll do that. If I do this, then they'll do that. They might. I mean, they might not. But guess what? You can guarantee that if you, Yolanda, are consciously aware of your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior, and you align them to the actual desire and not the story you're creating, then you won't be disappointed. Even if that thing don't work out, guess who I'm not going to be disappointed in? Me. Because I'm not engaging in patterns and behaviors where I get the least of me And everything else gets the best version of me, but I don't save that for myself, or I don't demonstrate that for myself. So as we are talking about breaking cycles, you have to tell the truth. So perhaps from today until next week, when we get to part 2, you will start to write down, what the hell am I doing? No, don't do that. But ask yourself, why am I looking to satisfy this need or this desire in this particular way? That's all you need to do. You don't need to blame yourself, beat yourself up. This not that. You just want to know why. And if the conclusion is, well, because I need love, because I want to be accepted, I want to be cared for, I want to feel good, then tell the truth about it. You don't have to label it. You're not dumb. You're not stupid. You're not crazy. You're probably doing a quite noble thing for someone else. But if it's impacting you and your growth, then it really does become dysfunctional for everyone. Now you done created a codependent, you know, co-offender, and we don't want to do that either. So take a good look at the cycles that you say that you want to break, whether it's food, whether it's sex, whether it's money, whether it's men, women, whatever. And you know who you are and you know what it is. Tell the truth about it. Tell the truth about it. Tell the truth about it. I am so grateful. I don't know. Something happened before I came on when it came to comments and things like that. It was like, you're not going to be able to see comments. I'm like, well, what do you mean I'm not going to be able to see comments? So if you guys have been commenting, I haven't seen it. I don't know what's going on. I saw something on my phone. I don't know where that came from. Um, so I apologize if you've said something and I didn't respond. I just didn't see it. For those of you watching on the replay, that graphic, I'm going to post it in different places. Or if you want a copy, all I ask is that you ask me for it and you not just start sharing it without crediting me, because I created it. That's my creation. I thought about putting a watermark on it. I thought about doing all of that. Listen, it's going to go where it needs to go. I just ask that if you are the one to send it, that you do right by me. That's all I ask. But if it needs to go in places and spaces, whether my name is attached to it or not, I'm released from that. I'm okay with that. As always, if there is anything that you want to talk about, maybe you have already identified the cycle and you can't wait till next Sunday and you want to get to, I need to break this thing today. Yolanda, I got choices that I need to make and I need to break this thing today. Again, there isn't a ritual or exercise that I engage in that's going to immediately stop a cycle. I am a spiritual life coach. And what that means, there is a process that you need to create for you. I'm a facilitator. You need to create it for you because it's only going to make a difference if you do it. You got yourself in the cycle, you have to get yourself out of the cycle. I can facilitate and support you in that. And so on my website, which is listed above, is a link to office hours with me. We can talk about it. If you just can't wait till next week, we can talk about it. But if you watch this over and over and there's something that you hear that you have a question or a comment about, again, I can't see it today, but hopefully, hopefully, it will resolve itself. If I did, I might have pressed a button. I don't know. But yeah, continue to ask yourself the question until next week. What am I doing this for? What is my motivator? Your desire could be the motivator. Like I said, if you were hungry, you're motivated to eat. If you're thirsty, you're motivated to drink. If you're sad, you're motivated to. So ask yourself, what am I doing this for? Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Are you deprived of love, attention? Have you been dealing with abandonment and neglect for so long that you recognize you are out here in a cycle of trying to fix that and it's not working? Tell yourself the truth. Why am I in this thing? And then next week, we'll talk about how to get the hell out of it. I love you guys. Thank y'all for listening. Have an amazing rest of your Sunday. And again, if there's anything that I can do to support or facilitate your healing, I'm available. Love you. Have a good one.